I've just never met anybody who's able to feel sorry for themselves, who fundamentally feels grateful.
I 100% agree with that. And that's the first thing that I usually tell people if someone confides in me or, hey, I'm going through something. I always say, hey, look, it's really hard to feel sad for yourself and gratitude at the exact same time.
It's not hard. It's impossible.
And when I practice gratitude, because I still do this quite often, actually, I make sure it's never anything that I could be susceptible to be removed from, to be parted with. So for example, like I don't even go so far as like, hey, I have 10 fingers and toes because I could lose one.
You bet.
You know what I mean? Like yep. I never, 100% never say I'm so grateful that like I make X amount of money. Of course I am, but that's not what I'm going to attach my gratitude to. Like I want to attach to something like I'm grateful that I exist. You know what I mean? That I have the parents that I have, or had the parents that I had, that I was born and raised in the way that I was.
Look, man, I wish that were a new idea. I wish we could take credit for it. What we can do is say, that's not popular right now. It is not popular. I mean, this country just turned 250, and so many people are just twisted up. They can't feel good about it. They can't enjoy it. They've bought into an idea that they're living in a state of corruption. And that's not to say we got plenty of corruption to talk about. You want to talk about money, talk about fraud? I can't think of a more important thing to fix in the country than the squandering of taxpayer money, honestly. Mm-hmm. But it's a choice, you know, and it's a choice. And if you can't take a minute, like to really reflect on, I don't know, the American dream. Do you guys talk about that on the show much?
Yeah. One question that we used to ask every single guest on the podcast, I suppose we could ask it to you as well. If you are broke between the ages of 25 and 40, you have no kids, no physical or mental disability, whose fault is it?
It's 100% mine. It's my fault. If I'm between 25 and 40 and I'm broke.
No physical, mental disability, no kids.
Yeah.
Usually we get a range where people would say, oh, maybe it's 70%.
That was the most resolute answer I think we've ever done.
The sweat pledge is not for everyone, but that's another, tenant on there. I mean, it's my past does not equal my future. I am not the product of my circumstances. I'm the product of my choices. Now, I get it. It's easy to say, especially at this point in my life, given all the things that we've talked about. But what's more empowering? Like, what do you really want to tell somebody? Like, if you can really change somebody's state, do you want to convince them that they're in the condition they're in today because of their circumstances or because of their choices? Because it's very difficult to change your circumstances, and it's impossible to change your past. But your future has nothing to do with that. You are free to do all kinds of things. Now, to our earlier point, some of those things are going to make you humiliated. Some are going to be hard. Some are going to hurt. Some are going to make you just question everything. They're all going to make you uncomfortable. But if somebody's trying to live their life with a playbook that says discomfort is the enemy and that your circumstances are to blame, how would they ever get out of it? It might take some personal responsibility out of the sting of the moment.
Why do you think people don't want to hear your answer to that, though, that it's their fault?
Well, I mean, you'd have to ask them. I think, look, 9 out of 10 times, it's not the message. It's the messenger. And I think maybe there's a lot of people who don't find me terribly persuasive, happily. Some do. But again, nobody wants a lecture. Nobody wants a sermon. And nobody wants to hear from a 60-year-old guy who's closer to the end of his career than the beginning, that this is the way you've got to do it, little camper, suck up and eat your peas. Nope, they don't want to hear it. It's exactly what we were talking about before, which I think is going to be for me, the most important thing we've talked about, which is what is persuasive? When is it persuasive? To what degree does the messenger affect the message? I'll tell you when the scales fell from my eyes and I knew that we had entered a totally different time in this country. I could tell you the exact week. It was 2015. It was summer, and I went and did an episode of Real Time with Bill Maher. Killed it. Great crowd, big audience. Delivered my message. It was very much a MicroWorks message, reinvigorate the trades, et cetera, et cetera. 3 days later, same exact conversation with Glenn Beck. Now, I went home at the end of that week and opened my computer and started looking at the socials, see what's up. Holy shit, man. I can't tell you. My buddies on the right completely lost their minds when they saw me sitting next to Bill Maher. They just lost their minds. And my buddies on the left, their heads exploded when they saw me sitting next to Glenn Beck. Nobody talked about what I said. Nobody talked about the fact that I reached millions of people in both of those audiences with a message that was important to me, and I think maybe important for the country. Mm-hmm. Nobody was interested in the message. They weren't even interested in the messenger, which was me, which was weird because these people follow me online. What they were interested in is the proximity of my interlocutor. And that was a problem. How could you sit next to that son of a bitch? How could you sit next to him? How could you normalize blah, 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 blah. And that, to your question, that's the world that guy's living in. You know, everything is toxic. Well, not everything, but half of everything is toxic. So, you know, those are the times. You know, you must be this tall to get on the ride, you know, and we're on it. And now you have to think about who you're sitting next to, not just what you're saying. At least that's what you're told. I don't have the energy for it anymore.
And really quick, I just want to say that most people know that they should have an LLC, but they keep pushing it off because it sounds super complicated. Well, that's why we partnered with Northwest Registered Agent. They make the entire process so simple that you could just get it done today.
For $39 plus state fees, Northwest forms your LLC and handles the state filings for you.
You get your operating agreement, member certificates, and banking resolutions, which is all the paperwork that actually makes it official.
And that's all that, plus a free domain, email, phone line, brand protection, and mail forwarding are bundled in so your business is ready to operate in the same day.
And your home address never goes on the public record. Northwest uses their own address on your filings instead of yours.
So if forming an LLC has been sitting on your to-do list for long enough, today is the day. Just go to northwestregisteredagent.com to get started.
That's northwestregisteredagent.com, or click the link down below in the description to get your LLC filed.
Thank you to Northwest Registered Agent for sponsoring this episode, and back to the podcast.